Things I've always strived for in my practice is to make the programs that I give as individualized as possible, and that includes my nutrition plans. So today I'm just going to quickly talk about strategies for improving or selecting a nutrition plan that's ideal for you. That kind of journey started off with Charles Poliquin's biosignature modulation course, and then I did the International College of Applied Nutrition and Strengths nutritional profiling course. One thing, I'm always open to changing my ideas, and I have actually spoken out about against it in the past. It's the concept of a calorie deficit, and I'll completely put my hands up and say I was wrong. Actually, the fundamental marker for success in fat loss is a calorie deficit. I would say that's the foundation. I still think that hormonal optimization is important, but I would argue now quite firmly that's secondary to calorie deficit. Why do I say that? Well, because a lot of the markers that we're looking for in hormonal optimization are given by a calorie deficit, so they're improved by it. So I'm talking about things like creatine reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation, or HbA1c, which is a marker of the damage that glycogen has done to blood cells, so it's a marker of being pre-diabetic. All of those things are improved. So one of the things that, for example, ketogenic people say is, oh yeah, but being in a ketogenic diet, or intermittent fasting would be autophagy, right? It improves autophagy. In other words, the removal by the body of damaged DNA cells. Well, the fact of the matter is that autophagy is happening all the time anyway, so that's not really an argument. Enhanced autophagy has been equally shown in calorie deficits. So in other words, you get the same benefits without having to necessarily push yourself into those extremes. Ketogenic diet, well, you burn more fat on a ketogenic diet. That is actually true, you do, because your dietary intake of fat is higher, so therefore the proportion of fat that you burn is higher. Then people who say about the high carb model, well, all you're doing is burning carbohydrate. That's right, that's because your intake of carbohydrates is higher. So why do I have a favour of protein? Well, it's because it improves satiety. There's the thermic effect of feeding. In other words, just digesting that protein takes energy, and that can be 20%. So you consume 100 grams of protein and you're only actually storing 80. On top of that, the body finds it really difficult. It's a really ineffective fuel to store. The body breaks it down as amino acids for muscle synthesis, so it's really important you're doing resistance training, but also it's really difficult to break down and store as fat. Of course, everything taken in excess will be stored as fat. I mean, that's a given. There are no magic foods. The mythology that you could eat, it takes more energy to store celery stick than it does to actually consume it. That's utter nonsense. Fibrous foods just tend to be removed, obviously, through the stool, so they're good for gut health. So when people say, oh yeah, but it's not just all about protein, absolutely not. No, I would say that you want to alkalize the bloodstream with lots and lots of vegetables at every meal, and the more the better. And also, on a basic caloric level, they're really low. Have a massive salad with tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and shallots and whatever you fancy, chuck it all in, and then put it into MyFitnessPal, and you'll find that it's about 57 calories, but you'll be absolutely stuffed. So that, alongside a high protein diet, would be beneficial. So I've come out of camps. One thing I will say is that it's evident to me that what I was taught early on was, when I did my courses with Charles Poliquin, was what's called the carbohydrate insulin model. Now the thing was, I accepted that as a fact, and I'm not disputing it. What I'm saying is it's a hypothesis. This is really important to understand. It's not a fact. So people like Gary Taubes and Dr. McCullough, etc., all posit. And the problem is, when you go online, it's like a fact. Oh yeah, it's carbs that make you store body fat. Well, the truth of the matter is it's much more complicated. That it's overconsumption, and it's overconsumption of any food. So what I would suggest when you're looking at the kind of model of what you're eating is that we stop demonizing foods. I'm not saying that high carbohydrate diet is beneficial. What I'm saying is that the model that it's carbs that make you fat, it's not excessive calories, is flawed. It's wrong. And that's something I've come out of the other end of. That's actually looking at the science. So calories in, calories out, much as it's dull, and much as in the past I shunned it, is an actual fact. That is a fact. Everything else is a hypothesis. So you might think, oh my God, where does that leave me? I love doing keto. So is he telling me that? No. What you've got to do, and this is not my quote, I thought it was a brilliant one from Dr. Lane Norton, was this. You choose the restriction that suits you. Okay? You choose the restriction that suits you. If you're paleo, carnivore, keto, vegan, or intermittent fasting, if you are finding success with it, if you're enjoying it, if it's easy for you, then do it. One of my issues is this. People go, oh, I'm going to do the keto diet because I've heard that's brilliant. They're struggling just to lose fat. They're struggling just to be in a calorie restriction. So now what you're going to do is turn around and go, right, we want 85 to 90% of your calories coming by way of fat and moderate portions of protein, and carbs are literally, virtually zero. Well, if you can do that and sustain that, and that diet suits you, happy days. But if you're like, what? I don't even know how to start on that. What sort of foods are we looking at? What does that even mean? How would I prepare that? Is that good for me? How long do I have to be in it to get in a ketogenic state? Well, then I'd argue it's too much. Look, there are other things to do in life. There are more important things, okay? There are decent series on Netflix. There's a nice sunny day outside. You don't want to be spending 2/3 of your time trying to figure out what you're going to stick on your plate. So what do? I use a much more kind of flexible dieting, for want of a better word. What I tend to do is this. I set myself a protein goal. Okay, that's my minimum standard, and I've got a calorie deficit which I have calculated. And that's it. That is it. What I do with my carbs and my protein, my fat, will vary from day to day. Now here's a caveat. If you've got blood sugar issues, which I've had in the past, not anything massive, but my HbA1c is always higher than it should be, then I would recommend a lower carbohydrate diet. So I do strive to be slightly on the lower carb side, okay? If you've had high triglycerides, so for example, you're looking at elevated triglycerides, I'm not talking about cholesterol, then you probably do better on a slightly higher carb, lower fat diet. So you can start to see that you can individualize it according to yourself and your own body. So the best diet for you is the best diet for you. It sounds like a cop-out, but it's, one of the things that I like about Lane Norton is that he's very fond of the expression, it depends. Clients will say to me now, I'm much more confident to say, well, it depends. How come you got that client on that diet? Well, because that's what suits them. So that will hopefully help you individualize what's worked for you in the past. For a lot of people, this kind of flexible dieting approach works really well. Do I let myself have a little Reese's Pieces every now and then? Well, more than now than again. Yeah. Why? Because I can afford to. Because as long as I've clocked in and I'm like, oh, I've got, 300 calories to play with. I've hit my protein goal. I've hit my fiber goal. Feeling good. Maybe I've trained that day as well, so there's a little bit more insulin sensitivity. Yeah, what the hell, have one. What's interesting is I measured my blood markers, and actually using my Reese's Pieces diet, I noted that there was actually a decrease in my HbA1c, and that would probably be more correlated with losing a bit of body fat. Is it still where I want it to be? No. And also, let's be clear, do I supplement for that? Hell yeah. So what do I take for my blood sugar management? And it's very difficult to tell what is working. I don't care. At the end of the day, I don't want to be diabetic, so I don't give a monkeys. I really couldn't care less what's working. I just want to make sure that I, keep my blood sugar levels in check. So I take chromium, alpha-lipoic acid, cinnamon as a supplement, and I found that's dropped it. My last measure, I think, was 40. That's not great, that's nothing to write home about, but it means that I'm out of that pre-diabetic range. And where am I headed and where do I want to go? 35. So it'd be interesting to see if when I get down to 77 kilos and 15% body fat, whether that drops alongside it. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. That's quite detailed information. I would say it's good advice because it's evidence-based, okay? It's not conjecture. So have I changed my perspective and my mind? Yes. Does that mean that I would say go out and fill your face with crap? No, because at the end of the day, forget fat loss, we're also talking about health. So is a little bit of what you like good for you? Yeah, because it improves adherence. I've been on really strict paleo and carbohydrate reduced diets, and all I could bloody think of was having a milkshake or a mocha frappa chocochino As soon as I said to myself, you can have the mocha frappa chacachinino, but the fact is, yeah, it's going into your calories, and now you are going to be hungry when you go to bed because that was 250 calories of crap. That made me more compliant than thinking to myself, oh, I must never eat it because it will, literally, I will no longer be paleo, which is a broad term anyway, because Charles Poliquin used to allocate coffee, for example, in a paleo diet. Well, I don't know how many no disrespect to the idea, but I don't know how many cavemen were sipping on a latte. Anyway, so there you go. Hopefully that helps clear up some confusion. And, as always, hopefully it shows that I pride myself on changing my views as time goes on. I think I would be a lesser PT if I didn't. Anyway, take care. Have a good day.